I'm Kel Myers and this is Phoenix Sound. Today I'm joined by Mike Sassano, the CEO of SOMAI Pharmaceuticals. Together we deep dive into the science behind medical cannabis. In today's conversation, we focus on the groundbreaking role of terpenes in medical cannabis and how these compounds are reshaping patient care and influencing treatment outcomes, the science-backed potential of full-spectrum cannabis to address a wide range of health challenges from inflammation to anxiety, and the ongoing tension that exists between government regulations, Big Pharma's interests, and the urgent need to put patients first in this ever-evolving space. Stay with us. Thanks for joining me on Phoenix Sound today, Mike. I really appreciate it. I'd love if we can start with really what inspired your journey into medical cannabis, into this space, and also if we can start by giving the audience an overview as well of SOMAI Pharmaceuticals, that'd be really helpful.
So SOMAI Pharmaceuticals was kind of created to bring cannabis products to the global markets. And then if you go back even further in history, where my roots are with cannabis, I developed and built with my own hands, and my brother and I both actually built over 25 cannabis facilities in the United States. And as time went on, I realized that we could make better products by running our own facilities and making better products for the patients, because in the early form it was medical markets, and then taking that knowledge of creating better products, better flower for those medical patients, metamorphosized as the market developed. And then I saw the development of the medical markets in the global markets, and I said, that's another place where I believe we can have an advantage to help patients to get better products for those communities. And so now SOMAI is 134 employees, and we've reached 12 countries and growing with our products. And we've gone from simply making the most comprehensive portfolio for extracts to now owning our own cultivation and not only growing for some of the best brands in the world like cookies, but also bringing flowers across the global market. So we've expanded quite well to fit the shoes of a top vertically integrated multi-country operator.
Yeah, absolutely. I have heard of Cookies, the brand. I'm quite into hip hop, and I've heard that brand referenced a few times by rappers. Just to see that growth, and obviously Australia has seen significant growth in its medical cannabis market. I saw a report on IBIS World that between 2019 and 2024, the industry grew by 112%. I'm sure it's a little bit more than that, but with SOMAI's current presence and interest in Australia, how do you see the market evolving or metamorphosizing, as you say? You've been there from really the start, growing it in America, and now you're global. So yeah, I'd love to get your take on that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what you just said there is, when you said I identify, or I at least understand, or I've heard about cookies through hip hop and that, this is very important, because reaching different demographics that can be helped with cannabis doesn't stop just at the doctors. It also goes to the culture, what people are talking about, and what products they are talking about within that community that help them. And so I think I've always said this, and my articles have been very clear about this. Australia is the number one market for medical cannabis selection, with over 1,300 different SKUs in the market. It's my favorite pick because it allows the patients and the communities the flexibility to choose products that work for them. Yeah. And so, I'm in, SOMAI is in very young market where they only have a few indications and a few products allowed in that market. There's countries out there that don't allow cannabis at all. And then you have Australia inside the medical markets, which, allows people to really identify with their products and choose the products that work for them. When you make over 100 extract products and you have over 50 different flower SKUs, well, guess what? You believe that patients should have choice. You embrace the fact that there's a lot of choices. I heard somebody here say, well, that's just too many in the market. I said, well, I don't think so. I think there should be more choices for the patients. I was like, as a matter of fact, I would disagree with you. I would say just one of our dispensaries in the United States has more choices than that. So I think, as time goes on, you should have more choice in the markets.
Yeah, absolutely. And particularly around the type of product. So whether it's, say, an oil or an edible, for example. I know for myself, living with endometriosis and dealing with like women's health, things like pessaries, for example, they're becoming quite common. They're compounded more often here. I don't know of any brand that's just bringing them to the market, but that's just an example of another kind of route of delivery of the medicine that's really quite life changing for women that are dealing with chronic pelvic pain.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all to address these issues. I remember one doctor was telling me that, hey, I'm using a 10 for 10 for endometriosis. And I said, well, that's interesting. How did you come up with that exact oral drop to test for that? I said, do you think that a different formulation SKU, a different delivery device might be better? Maybe, suppository format or others. And, it's always very interesting, to hear why people, are choosing, one version over the next. One doctor had said, well, do your oral gums, your pastels or whatever you may call them, will they melt at 40 degrees? And I said, probably. Do you think at 40 degrees you need to prescribe a gummy, or would it be better maybe our Sensus oral drop, which has a nice fruity taste also, and isn't going to boil at 40 degrees?
Yeah.
What do you think your choice should be? So, providing those options and making sure that it address, as many, and you have so many options to address it. Well, then that person can find within that group what helps them to realize some satisfaction.
Yeah, that's it. And it's definitely an ongoing journey. It can be trial and error, but that's also part of the journey, I think, as a medical cannabis patient, is there's always that incremental room for growth. And as the market grows and more products come to the market, we become more informed, hopefully, of what those products are, and we kind of go on that journey together. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's right. And my 80-year-old parents are they're gonna find a different way to find that product, to somebody that likes the hip hop community. And inside that hip hop community, if let's say a brand like Cookies or AeroPro or Sherbinsky's or Jack Herrera, whatever name attracts inside that industry and gets people to talk within that community about what helped them. Well, guess what? We've done a better job reaching that community and trying to find something that helps the indication they're looking to cure. And just because it has a name or a different look, the key is we reached you. We found you something that helps you, throughout your demographics.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, like you say, culture and word of mouth, and also being able to see what other people in your community are experiencing when they try something. I think that's some communities, particularly minority communities, I think tend to trust that a lot more than, say, the conventional doctor and what they're saying. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, I mean, look, let's face it. Doctors see many patients in the day. They're not going to get it right every single time of what the newest or best cannabis is.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I surely hope they don't know the latest and greatest trend in cannabis, because then they're not spending enough time taking care of patients, or they have like no life on the other end where they're just studying cannabis all night long. So I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
But usually within your peer group, you will find things that's that can be recommended a lot quicker than you will within your doctor's group sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because it's such an emerging new class of medicine as well, like you say, and GPs here, they're already under the pump. Everyone's gone through COVID. You know, a lot of them are still dealing with long COVID and burnout. And, you know, it can't be expected of them to just kind of like learn an entire, new class of medicine just overnight and just, add that into what they have to do anyway every day and in their prescribing. So yeah, it's quite a heavy burden on them. It'll be interesting, I think, to see how the prescribing industry evolves over time to meet those demands of it being a new class of medicine, and how that will play out in terms of how medicine's taught. It'd be good to see modules on this included for undergrads in nursing and medicine.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just about a month ago I had COVID again. I don't know how many times I've had this COVID, but this time I lost my taste. So now I'm trying to work with. I'm reading all the research and trying to take my nightly extract and add some terpenes that might be able to help and fix me, get me back my taste because I definitely do like eating when I travel at the nice restaurants all over the world. And so, now I get to research, COVID, long COVID, and see if I can create something to help myself, and maybe in the future help other people. So, when you make a lot of different products, you become absorbed with all the different indications. Like you said earlier, I had written an article on endometriosis. I think we have 5 different products we're researching to see if they work better. Different for arthritis. We just recently settled on a high beta caryophyllene terpene that seems to give people more relief, both by research and by actual trying it out. So I get the actual benefit of looking at whatever ails me or somebody else and trying to figure out, can we make something that addresses that? Does it exist within the portfolio, or do we need to make something more exclusive?
Yeah, and it often comes from life experience, doesn't it? Like you said, like getting COVID again and experiencing those awful side effects of not being able to enjoy your food, which is just the worst. Because I'm the same. I love my food, and that's just it's horrible, isn't it? When it's a joy and it's taken away from you like that. Um, yeah, so to come up with a solution to that problem. And just on the point of the beta caryophyllene, the BCP, in my own research and also experience as a patient, I've also found that flowers that are high in BCP are great for anti-inflammatories. And I did a bit of research around why that is, because of the way that that particular terpene is like a major terpene and it links to the EC2 receptors in the gut. And women have a lot more nerves there than men do. And that's one of the reasons why the pain can be so acute. So, yeah, I've kind of geeked out over BCP a bit in terms of the effect that it can have as an anti-inflammatory. Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And you and I have been on a similar path for quite a while, just so you know, trying to figure out and being able to make that, let's say, understanding of the benefit of beta caryophyllene. So it's I've become very excited about it over the last few years, and even more so now that people are validating it, like yourself. Hearing that validation just makes me more positive that we are on the right track with a very high beta caryophyllene dominant. And so if it works for different anti-inflammatory events, maybe that extra dose will bring other indications to light. And although we designed it, let's say for both males and females, but it was more designed around pain relief of the aches in different variations of arthritis. I do agree, that the effect on the stomach definitely will open up more indications. And I think I'm going to have to footnote you now after this.
I'm so glad we've connected on the BCP front because I've been really excited about that. this past 6 months since discovering it as a major terpene and what it can really do, and then feeling the effects as well firsthand. And then, yeah, I don't know how deep you want to get into terpenes, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to discuss full spectrum cannabis, which is, the cornerstone of medical treatments. And it is really important that we have, I guess, a more nuanced conversation about it than just like indica, sativa, THC percentage. I think it's easy to get caught up in that, but yeah, I think things like limonene as well, which we know can really help with anxiety, and it can have that calming effect when people are experiencing any kind of acute onset of pain. It naturally puts the body into fight or flight, and that combination of the BCP and the limonene is also quite helpful. So I've been experimenting with, you know, the complexities of like layering the terpenes and seeing how that works and how that affects my functionality throughout the day. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, you know, let's say I fell in love with limonene. I don't know if love is the right word, but I liked it so much, that we actually, one of the census line, we went heavy on limonene, for that exact reason, by the way. And so the combination thereof then becomes really the science, limonene plus beta caryophyllene. How do those two dominant terpenes work out together? Does it solve multiple indications, singular indications, or even more indications than we imagined? And so when you find the one, like, I think in the future, sativas and indicas and all those words are nice general ways where you can talk simply to people, and then as people develop a better understanding of their body and why some cannabis works and why others, it differentiates into terpenes and minor cannabinoid strengths, and then you really get the precision of what truly helps you, and what you may even become more in tune with your body as to what is bothering you. General terms like long COVID or endometriosis. Maybe there's other things inside of there, right? Maybe there's stress or anxiety due to work. Maybe there's other feelings you're trying to solve. And I think then mapping those terpenes and mapping those results, and also minor cannabinoids, I'll keep kind of reiterating that one too. Those reactions and those things help you to find is part of your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's still so much to learn about the the other minor cannabinoids like CBG and how that can help with mood and hormone stabilization. And it's a really exciting time. I guess we're really just at the start of it, aren't we, in terms of the science behind it revealing itself.
Yeah, the yesterday, one of the locals here gave me a try of something with CBG, heavily dominant CBG, and I felt multiple different relief points for it. One happened to be, you never know the exact reasons, but let's say I also had a feeling that it was helping. My stomach was a little bit on edge from traveling, and so I found different feeling by being able to try it as a majority dominant, not just a small percentage of a vaporizer unit. I was able to kind of isolate that exact element and that feeling, and I'm saddened because in the markets where we come from, we can't overweight CBG by itself, but in the U.S. we have it, and in Australia they have it, and I think there's definitely a great effect to that product, and it's not necessarily a psychoactive ingredient.
Interesting. Yeah. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. I have a CBD oil which includes CBG for like the daytime. It's like a sativa dominant one, and it is very helpful. It is. It's yeah, you do notice the difference. It's true, and I think it does help you create more self-awareness and it really helps on the mindfulness front to be in tune with your body to that extent. It kind of forces you to slow down, which I think is a good thing for a lot of us who are kind of running around in this busy world. Sometimes it's good to just take a breath and check in with the body. We spend so much time in our heads. I think it's a good practice.
Yeah, I think the world is, I think there's different stages of our development in the world. And, at one point, let's say in our development, if they said, here's a pill, take this, we were all led to believe that that's the only way that we could go. The doctor told you to take this, you must take this. Take this pill once a day for the rest of your life. And, as generations went by, they started to look at that and question it. And herbal medicines that have been around for centuries before Big Pharma came around, herbal technologies became more mainstream. And then people started looking more deeper. And I would say even the cannabis industry created this retrospective and introspective moments where we actually concentrate on our bodies and what exactly is inside that cannabis or what is inside that extract that is making me feel good. Is it the right one? And how do I keep searching out that feeling, inside, and looking at what you put in and how it reacts with your body, I think is where we're at and where we're going in the future. And it's less about, hey, pop this every day till the end. It's more of a journey that you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot more of a holistic experience as well, and genuinely healing experience because a lot of these pills that you say we've been popping for the past century or so, they just mask pain. Cannabis modulates it, and that's a big difference. And my partner, I'll be candid, she has endometriosis and she's had a pretty bad flare up these past few days. But to see her overcome it from home without having to go to ED, without having to, be on fentanyl and take medical cannabis and just take care of herself here is extraordinary. To think where she was 3 days ago to now she's back on her feet and she's got colour in her face again. I just don't think that kind of transformation and turnaround is really possible with conventional medicine. But yet the stigma seems to remain a significant challenge globally, including in Australia. And yeah, I'd love to get your take on what role you think education and transparent communication really play in reducing stigma and how you think we can all contribute to these efforts.
Yeah, I think we should be allowed to have a bigger megaphone and be able to blast out these messaging like what you just said. If you have something that's debilitating and Big Pharma is telling you, I'm going to give you something that's more debilitating, are you really helping them? Is
Yeah.
that really the path you want to be on? And if nobody is allowed to counter, that, hey, look, there's an alternative to you going fentanyl. There's an alternative to you going oxycodone. And if you don't have that megaphone to bring into that educational sphere, Big Pharma is out speaking to the world, right?
Yeah.
And they have more money to speak and to get that messaging out, and they can prevent educational information or they can make it regulations for cannabis much harder. But at the end of the day, if you watch what's going on in the U.S., let me tell you something that's going on. The HHS, the FDA, has come out 2 times already this year with reports and said that cannabis is safer than all the alternatives in the market, helps at least, and they use the word least 15 indications. And they just did a 8-step process, which is for the approval of any medical drug. And they said the downside of cannabis, both addictive-wise and others, if you can say there is that, is the same and comparable with caffeine. That is the largest health organization in the world putting that in writing. And on the other side, you see the negative influences coming in, trying to stop that material from reaching the public, trying to suppress those documentations,
Yeah.
and trying to not at least take cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3, which seems, with us in the community who know exactly what the help of cannabis, well, it seems silly to say that it has no medical benefit. Not just silly, it seems almost insane that you
Yeah.
can't make that determination at this point of decades of research. And the government, HHS, FDA, is saying the exact thing. And then the DEA is saying, no, 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 we think it's dangerous. Well, from what? Where's your evidence? Or when doctors tell me, I don't have enough evidence. Well, there's over 35,000 research reports. Not one of them indicating that cannabis isn't better than the alternatives in the market. As a matter of fact, every single one of them points to a better alternative, including all regulators in the world. So why isn't our education and words getting out? As you might imagine, this is a very passionate topic for me.
Yes, yes, yeah. I guess as it should be, because as a leader in the space, you're facing a lot of resistance, and you've got to be passionate. It isn't a place for complacency, is it, or apathy? Yeah, it's a push. Like you say, they've got so much power, so much money, and they're so established and baked into the way we do healthcare. Full stop. It's a real seismic shift, isn't it?
Yep, it is. It is. And if I, you know, being in this industry for almost 17 years now, I've seen so many variations, and there's nobody who's going to tell me cannabis doesn't help it. I don't care who you are. I was
Right.
with a regulator that was very staunch, and I came in with all these data, and I said, I'm not going to regurgitate this to you. I'm going to leave this on your desk. And you can imagine how silly it's going to sound when you tell me that there's no data to say there's medical benefit. And I dumped, it was about 1.5 feet tall of just documentation. I said, this is my present to you, because you're never going to
Yeah,
convince me of this.
that's
I'm
amazing.
not
I
here.
love that.
Sometimes I'm not here to convince you because your mind is closed. But here's all the
Mm.
people that benefit. If they can benefit, it's up to you not to get in their way.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Just don't get in people's ways. That's it. Nobody's trying to brainwash the public or make everyone take cannabis. It's like we just don't get in people's ways when they're trying to access it and trying to learn more about how that can help their health. And really, it's just shameful how conventional medicine continues to fail the population. And really, I think that's the thing they're scared of really admitting is their massive failures and the reasons why people are leaving them and moving over to alternative medicine. People wouldn't even be exploring it if pills worked, you know. So yeah.
Well, I call it out very, very strong, and it won't matter, if they're what their regulatory position is. It's just clear. You have two ways you can look at this. Either somehow you have some belief not founded in medicine, or Big Pharma's got you twisted. It's one of two reasons why you don't look at the safety standards of cannabis and ask yourself, for whatever reason it is that you are not allowing this to happen, so be it. It's inside your brain. On the other side, if somebody can benefit, right, why stand in their way if you believe that there is a benefit to it? You don't have to violate whatever ideas are in your brain by just staying off the negative. You don't have to be a promoter, but you can't be the negative side of this equation and get some respect from me.
Yeah, absolutely. What motivates you to keep advocating for change in this space, Mike? Like you said, you've been here for 17 years, pushing for change. What motivates you?
I mean, you have to see the other end of what I see,
Mm.
and I get messages online. I get messages sent for years. Some of them, some of them are, one side or the other. But when you get positive messages in the industry of people that are helped, and can you, Mike, can you work on, as an example, we were talking otherwise, something with beta caryophyllene, something with limonene. Can you work on something with this? I have this. Can you take a look into long COVID? Can you look into this? Is there something you would recommend? And many of the times I'm able to recommend something that's in the market, right? Like, this looks like it might be helpful. Let me know how it goes, And, when I came over to the global markets, I just kept making more and more products because I just couldn't imagine, another product that couldn't help somebody. Like they need more limonene, they need more beta caryophyllene, they need more, whatever it is. They need another variation. They need another delivery device.
Yeah.
This delivery device isn't going to get them where this group needs. And the more I kept going, the more I kept making more products and more variations. And I couldn't stop at some point. Like the point came where, okay, I was looking at the rosins and the resins, and I was saying to myself, what's after this? And then
Yeah.
I said, more rosins and more resins, more strains. So then I couldn't stop there. So I was like, okay, we can't come out with too many of these. So let's just come out with 3 strains of rosin and 3 different strains of resins, and then it became a pheno hunt of strains. And then I said, okay, we've done that. So now 2025 and 2026, what's the new lineup for the phenos? I just sent that out the other day. I was like, so what's our new line of phenos? So now I need to have more phenos for 26. And so it's kind of this never ending process. It's not that you're trying to make, I don't know how to say this right, but okay, it's not like, this is the best. This is the best variety I can find you. This is the best flower I could find you with the best technique to make the rosin. I can't say this one is the best, but I did the best I can to find the great strains, and I did the right processing, and I gave you 3 versions. Did you like those 3 versions? Did you not? Did you find one that worked for you inside of that? Did you not? Okay, great. I have 3 more versions coming for you that I think you might like to try. And so, it becomes kind of this never ending quest to reach every demographic with every kind of product that can be formed in the best and most ethical manner you can make it in. And at some degree, it's all has to do with choice of flower and choice of technology, process. And if you think about it like that, then it's almost infinite, right? Because flower strains change, people's desires change. Technology keeps getting better from the extracted side, as an example. What we made 15 years ago, I can tell you, it was kind of like extracts were made kind of like you made brownies at home. You would warm up the product in some fatty solution, an oil or some fatty solution. Then you would centrifuge it, and you would, put that into your whatever gummy or vape or whatever. RSO was a very early form product, and it was a very crude extraction process, so basic, but helped so many, right? And then as time went on, that technology got better and better and better. I remember years ago, these CO2 guys came from the perfume industry. They had never extracted any cannabis before in their life, but the theory was sound. And then suddenly we're all CO2 extracting one day. One day they were making perfumes. The next day they were making cannabis. Well, that technology also changed and changed dramatically. And then, ethanol came in, and then suddenly we were saying, well, isn't this hydrocarbon better? Is it, then we would roll back to the natural version of rosin extraction and say, no, that's better. Or is there a place for all of this? Does this appeal to this person? Does that appeal? And once you realize that it all has an appeal to a different person, then you find out that there's actually a place for everything in there. And then you can't stop. And then it becomes addictive to make more and more products as best as you can, because more and more people are being helped. And it's you almost can't get off that treadmill once you're on it.
Yeah, it's a real equity quest that you seem to be on there, Mike. Like, we really value equity and unity on the podcast, and the idea that everyone's an individual and they need different things. And whilst there might be similarities and generalities, there's always going to be things that just work for you that don't work for the next person. And even if you have the same condition, and yeah, I can see how it can just like, expand out the way it does for you. It's just mushrooms into more and more variants. But everyone's got different needs, really. So,
Yeah, it's almost, I can't find my way off the treadmill, to be honest with you. Now,
yeah.
even with this call, I have to tell you, I am relooking. I'm thinking to myself, relooking at how we're doing the endometriosis choice, and saying, look, I think we need to try and get this off of the shelf and get this into the market. There's just too many people, that are suffering over this, and then now they're being swayed to fentanyl, which is, hearing that just blows my mind. Like, I need to help. I can't sit around on the sidelines after hearing that.
Thanks, Mike. I feel like I've actually done something useful by sharing that. I'm really glad that we've connected today. I really am. I'm really grateful for your time and that I got to share that with someone who's actually willing to listen and take some action with that. That's in a position to do so. So yeah, I really think that could really help.
Yeah, but this is exactly what ends up happening with me. I just can't sit on the sidelines. It's
Yeah,
just not going to happen.
yeah,
And
yeah,
whether I get it right, or I at least try and keep improving and get it right the next time, or get it right the next time, I'll keep going, because it's important. And
yeah.
so we just got to keep going. And sometimes, like my production teams, they say, look, Mike, we're at 100 extracted, stabilized EU GMP products. Isn't that enough? And I say it'll be enough once I hear enough feedback, and we're reaching all the demographics that need to be reached. And like with the marketing teams, I said, look, SOMAI is a pharmaceutical brand. It will remain for the very strict countries, a very strict pharmaceutical brand. But you need to also reach, different demographics with different branding, because it's not like making, great product or growing great product is strictly for uh, Merck and Pfizer. It's
Yeah.
for hip hop, or for whatever demographic you're in. And so if you're not reaching the public with your messaging, well, maybe you need to reach out with a different branding, and
Yeah.
explain to the people why this is useful for whatever it is and whatever indication they're at. And don't stop ever until your message gets out there and those people are cured. So, no, production team, I'm not ready to stop making products yet. Sorry, I haven't gotten there yet. I don't
Amen.
have enough data.
I love that. I love that. I mean, like you said, Mike, a lot of people are suffering. You wouldn't even have to be thinking about this if there wasn't so many, sadly, demographics that are in pain, whether it's chronic pain, cancer pain. So many people are suffering and in pain. And we've got to ask ourselves why, but also when are we going to actually really do something to truly transform the healthcare system? And that's where I'd love to kind of end the conversation on your vision for the future, and if you could envisage like an ideal healthcare system where medical cannabis is fully accepted, integrated, where people are getting the right products for their pain and conditions, what do you think that would look like? And realistically, how far away do you reckon we are from achieving it?
Yeah, it's a complicated question, right?
Mm,
I see so many variations of regulatory medicines. And I see the pluses and minuses of them all. Like, let me give you an example of what I mean by what I'm saying. In the US market, pretty much anything goes, any drug can be advertised, and anything can be prescribed almost immediately. But now you have a culture that's addicted to pills. They're creating chronic diseases because they're just giving you a pill for everything. And suddenly you have almost the use at a children's age. They're at 8 to 12% use of very serious pains, because the ADHD and other things are overly prescribed and overly diagnosed. So there's a very extreme market, that's, taking a lot of the pills. Is that freedom very positive? I would say, look, it's impossible to dissect medical freedom, but there should come with medical education. So I tend to be on the side that you should have medical freedom, but there needs to be a robust educational network, and it cannot come from the pharmaceuticals. And we cannot snuff out education from proper ways of getting out there, because people are going to get the word on Reddit or the internet. And so if we become trusted sources, to educate, not the negative sources online trying to de-educate and reprogram people to only stick to the old-fashioned view of how medicine has to be prescribed and diagnosed, then I believe the metamorphosis can be complete, where there's a freedom of medicine, but an education on the other side. And I'll give you an example. I take some time every year just to clean my system, not just for, cleaning from whatever, eating or drinking or whatever, things, I'm doing on a regular basis, but to actually do a little bit of a cannabis cleaning myself also. Now, it's not the most enjoyable thing I do, just like, okay, I'm not going to eat meat this month, or I'm not going to drink alcohol this month, or whatever it is you're trying to clean from. It's never going to be a perfectly enjoyable experience. However, what it keeps is my dosaging, and how much I take keeps it at a lower amount than if I keep increasing and gaining a tolerance over it. So it keeps my dosaging in a nice zone over the course of whatever decades I've been doing it. And at least edibles now for the last 8 years, my dosage will go up, and then after the cleaning, I can bring it back down. Now, that's a freedom that I enjoy. And when I travel from country to country, sometimes I don't have that freedom, and I'm forced to not take the cannabis when I would like to take it. So I was in Japan, and there was no cannabis there. Well, I can say that was a forced cleaning that was not so enjoyable for me. So, maybe I'm not going to, even though I love Tokyo, I love Japan, I love the culture, I love everything about Japan. I like skiing in Japan. But you know what? I don't think I'm going to be going back to Japan if I can't pursue, the product that makes me enjoy my sleep, gives me a good calm. So maybe I won't be there as much as I love that country. And maybe, maybe that's the right approach. Maybe people need to know that we're just not going to tolerate no freedom to have your medicine if it's considered safe, and we can get a good educational program out there. And I should be allowed to talk more to people. I should not be stifled by regulators. I don't have any bad feelings for people that I want to addict them to oxycodons or fentanyls or things that are killing people. I have no feelings for that, but I should have a bigger voice than them. I should be allowed to speak and educate everywhere I can as to the goodness that people are receiving from cannabis, and the nature of how to use cannabis right. My voice should be bigger than Big Pharma's. All of our voices should be, and we should overwhelm the airwaves with it.
Yeah, I think that's the way, isn't it? It's going to take a collective effort and strength in numbers, definitely.
Yeah, if we just look, we all, I try to tell people there's no competitors in this industry. We're all partners and we're all friends in the same technique. Now, of course, not everybody plays in the same level playing field as I would like them to. But at the end of the day, we're all in one boat. And guess what? There's Big Pharma got their thumb on the scale. There's no reason, there's no rational reason I can think of that in the United States we're a Schedule I drug, which means the same as heroin. You can't tell me cannabis is the same as heroin. I don't care what crazy town you come from. There's no way that any of your experience or your knowledge is going to make sense to me to tell me that cannabis is the same as heroin. That's just crazy. And anybody who repeats that sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, yeah,
Even my 80-year-old parents, who are as conservative as they come, you know, understand cannabis
yeah,
and take cannabis, you know, and they're like come from a whole nother world of generations, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
My nana's 90, and she's been exploring it. She's been exploring CBD. Um, yeah. But then that's a whole nother realm, isn't it? Because she's quite tech savvy for her age. For 90, she's got a mobile phone, but the people in her care home don't have access to the internet the same way. And they're, it's like, how do we make sure that they get access to? Because not everyone does have the internet. So yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But yeah,
send me send me over to their home. I'm going to go over there and do an educational seminar for them.
I'm sure they'd love
That's what I
that.
would like to do.
I'm sure they'd love
Yeah,
that.
let me carry the internet voice in the fashion that they know how to, and I will go out there personally myself and do this for them, because that all my parents' friends have found some dosage that makes sense for them, whether it's the high CBD or a very, 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 very light THC CBD dose. Because as they're older, they're more sensitive to these, and so they need to find something that makes sense for them, because if they can enjoy their life a little bit better and decrease the big pharma pills that they're being forced to take
Yeah,
12, 15, 20 a day, well, great. Here,
yeah,
add another one and tell me if you feel a little better.
exactly, exactly. They deserve to have a better quality of life as well. Yeah, that's
Especially after living 90 years, right? You
yes,
know,
it's not a bad effort.
why they they they've been they were brainwashed for so damn long that cannabis was bad, right? That it took years of me being in the business for my parents to warm up with it and to try it, and to find what it meant for them. They did it on their own, not because I told them to, but they did it on their own to say, what
Wow.
is
Yeah,
this? Our doctor gives us all these pills. What is this? What is it? Tell
yeah.
me about CBD.
Mm.
And they were online learning themselves and say, I think this
Oh, it's
sounds
beautiful.
right for me. I want to try it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's so yeah, and how have you seen a transformation in them since they've started doing that? Have you noticed a shift?
I think they're all quite happy. I mean,
Yeah,
we all see the transformation for ourselves.
right.
It doesn't, just because you got older doesn't mean you can't benefit. The only
True.
thing that changed is the mentality, right? The educational level. So in their mind, they had to succumb to an age that told them, by the way, when they were growing up, they said smoking is good, smoking cigarettes is great for you, and people smoked everywhere. There were no non-smoking zones.
Yeah,
It was smoke as much as you can because it's going to help your health. Can you imagine? That's the era they came from.
yeah, yeah. Where it was like cool and sexy to be like, yeah, a young woman smoking, like, yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
but it was even more. It was a benefit to your health. Can you imagine? It's
Yeah,
not just it's not just sexy, You're going to get a husband if you smoke this. It was actually also healthy.
it's gonna help your lungs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, you watch shows
That's
like Mad Men and you see like the advertising behind it, where they do the whole It's Toasted campaign. I think it's for Marlboro, and just the response they got from that was like, yeah, everyone's like, oh wow, yeah, it's toasted. Yeah,
Well, I
crazy.
mean, they can remember, like, even all the times, and even in our generations, like 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 they told us, okay, stop using paper bags, use plastic bags because the paper bags are gonna kill the environment by killing all the trees. Well, then they realized plastic bags weren't so good, so they said, okay, stop using plastic bags. Go this way. If we followed if we followed the medical trends over
Yeah,
the last 100 years, you would be in shock. Like you would stop following, them, and you would be on your own path, and probably you would pick a path of cannabis, before you tried a million other drugs. Even recently, I had hurt my neck, and it was, and I went to the doctors, and they said, "Here's a prescription of oxycodone. It's going to make you feel great." And I looked at him and I go, "Do you know what this stuff does?" Like, well, don't worry, we're not going to give you another prescription, so you're not going to get addicted to it. And I said, well, what does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
give me a break. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just no aftercare. There's no considering the long-term effects. Just off you go. Here's some pills. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
See you in a few months. Let me know how it goes. And if you need a refill, I'll give you a refill. And guess what? If you give me a bunch of oxycodone and you give me a refill, and my personality is such that I like that and I can keep using that, well, I may never stop, just so you know. That's just
Yeah.
very possible,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Such a dangerous path that people can end up going down through no fault of their own, just careless system, really, that's not evolved. And yeah, we're definitely in due a revolution, that's for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. But we'll get there. We've come such great strides. And as down as, like, when I'm in every local area that I go to, because I travel a lot educating doctors and pharmacists, every single place, every locality says, "Oh, I wish we could get better. I wish they." And when I come to Australia, I go, "Guys, you need to realize how great you really got it. Let me tell you some other countries and some horror stories. Like
Hmm.
Ireland. They're just starting to realize that GPs can prescribe, and it's not just for multiple sclerosis and cancer 3 and epilepsy. There's other indications like pain and different categories of pain. You know, but they couldn't get it before. They had to go to the illicit market, which is fine. At least they're getting it somewhere. But why can't they? Or Spain. You could walk into any social club there and get it from the illicit market product. It's not, from the medical markets, but you can't get medical products still. This year it'll change. But imagine that, like, you're like why would the medical department, why can you get it at any social club, but you can't get it at a medical club? I mean, to some degree, I think that's actually quite good. But, still, it's not like my 80-year-old parents are going to walk into a medical and a social club,
Yeah.
for their product. You know,
Yeah.
they do like their bud tenders now in the United States, so they don't talk to their doctor anymore. They have their local bud tenders they like. So I'm like, okay, if you like them, that's great. God, they're helping you.
Yeah.
Yeah, honey, we don't need your advice. We got our local bud tender. She's really smart, and I'm like, great. I'm glad you found somebody you like.
Yeah, if it's enriching their life, then why not? Oh my, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I'm really grateful for your time. I'm really looking forward to sharing it with our audience, and you've given me a lot of food for thought. So thank you so much. I'm glad we connected.
Yeah, thanks for enjoying it and letting me spread the word and having your interest. Come visit us. Come tour with us
Too.
over to our facility. If you make it to Lisbon, if I'm in one of your cities, let's meet one of these days.
That sounds good. Thanks so much, Mike. I hope you have a good rest of your trip, and I'll definitely be in touch. See you soon, Mike. Take care. And that, dear listeners, wraps up today's conversation with Mike Sassano, CEO of SOMAI Pharmaceuticals. We've explored a lot today, including the global impact of SOMAI and their growth, their commitment to innovating within the space and receiving feedback and doing something with that and taking actions to make patients' lives better, and the ethical considerations that come with the medical industry. These are just a few topics that we'll continue to unpack on the podcast. And if you enjoyed today's discussion, like, subscribe. Until next time, I'm Kel Myers, and this is Phoenix Sound.